Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. Well, this particular story I have for you deals with a 23-year-old young man who has his entire life in front of him, who happened to work at a Chick-Fil-A restaurant. And you have to listen to the caper and the crime that he came up with that got him caught. So this is a story of a young man, 23 years old, using his intelligence and creativity in all the wrong ways to the point of criminality. Chasing the bag by any means necessary, looking for the easy catch, not the long, hard, methodical way of earning your way through life in a positive manner. And he got caught by surveillance cameras with his hand in the proverbial cookie jar, or what you would call the cookie jar metaphorically. So listen, there are 3 felony convictions that you don't want to have that will follow you for the rest of your life. Of course, a murder conviction. Of course, being a registered sex offender conviction. And a lot of people don't realize a stealing or a theft conviction, felony conviction, will limit you in the workforce. You'll never be able to be a manager of a store. You'll never be able to work at a cash register. You'll never be able to work at a bank. There are some shackles and some limitations to having a stealing or theft conviction. And of course, this same young man that took his creativity to do something illegal, he could have been, here again, an engineer, a teacher, a professor, a lawyer, a doctor, etc. We're seeing this way too often where these young people are making mistakes that is changing their lives forever. These convictions and these felony convictions will follow you forever. So this has to do, he worked at Chick-Fil-A, but let me give you a little history about Chick-Fil-A that people may not know. And this will come back to haunt him as a result of him stealing from this Chick-Fil-A because of the history and the kind of place Chick-Fil-A is. It's a religious, it has a religious mission and background to it. That is not going to be easy for this young man when he goes to court. So Chick-Fil-A is an American fast food restaurant chain and the largest chain specializing in chicken sandwiches. Headquartered in College Park, Georgia, right there in Atlanta, many of the company's values are influenced by the Christian religious beliefs of its late founder, S. Truett Cathy, a devout Southern Baptist reflecting a commitment to Sunday Sabbatarianism. Therefore, all Chick-fil-A restaurants are closed on Sundays, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Even there's some controversy with Chick-fil-A. The company's conservative opposition to same-sex marriages has created controversy. But even among numerous controversies and boycott attempts, the 2022 American Customer Satisfaction Index found that Chick-fil-A remained the country's favorite fast food chain for the 8th consecutive year, and it has the highest per store sales of any fast food chain in America. So that's a little backstory on Chick-fil-A. And let's get into the brazen crime that this guy did. Here's the full story. The Mac&Cheese caper. Keyshawn Jones, 23 years old, a former Chick-fil-A worker in Grapevine, Texas, a Dallas suburb, was arrested on April 17th, 2026 and charged with property theft, money laundering, and evading arrest. So how did the scheme work? Keyshawn Jones was fired from the location on October 2025. Follow the timeline. But the following month, he was caught on surveillance footage behind the counter without authorization, where he allegedly began using the restaurant's register to ring up roughly 800 orders of macaroni and cheese trays, all before issuing refunds to his personal credit cards. So he ordered 800 mac and cheese trays and then issued a refund back to his personal credit cards. So you got a digital footprint. So here we go. We're talking about technology, artificial intelligence. We got surveillance cameras of him going back to the store after he was fired and going into the registers. And you have a digital footprint of him making credit card transfers and refunds from the Chick-Fil-A store to his personal credit cards. How do you defend that? And remember, this is 2026. There's an eye in the sky watching you all the time. There are all kinds of digital footprints that are taking place. It is hard to commit a crime and get away with it in today's time. Trust me and believe me. The best thing to do is live your life in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way. So the investigation began in November 2025 after the restaurant's owner reported hundreds of suspicious refunds. The total loss came to just over $80,000. $80,000. A simple audit was going to red flag this. He was not going to get away with this by any means. A key unanswered question. Authorities have not said how Keyshawn Jones was able to access the register after his termination. And no reason was provided in court records explaining why he was let go from his job. And remember, when he came back after being fired and then going behind the counter and using the register, that's also a charge of trespassing on the premises. You're not supposed to be on those premises after you recently been fired, for sure. So after a 5-month investigation, officers made several attempts to find Keyshawn Jones. A warrant was issued for his arrest on April the 6th. He evaded authorities multiple times before finally being taken into custody on April the 17th, almost 2 weeks, with assistance. And look who went after him. They were mad. Remember, this is Chick-Fil-A, headquartered in the South, out of Georgia, Atlanta. He's working for a Chick-Fil-A in Texas. That's all that Southern, you know what. And look at who went after him after this Chick-Fil-A theft. So they finally took him into custody on April the 17th with the assistance from the Texas Attorney General's Fugitive Task Force and the Fort Worth Police Department. So yes, they had the Texas Attorney General's Fugitive Task Force going after this kid. So what does he face? If convicted, he could face up to 10 years in state prison under Texas law. I tell you all the time, not only know your federal law and what's going on with your U.S. Constitution, your Bill of Rights and Amendments, but you need to know what's going on with your state law and its state constitution and your state Supreme Court and your state legislators. This kid could get 10 years in prison for a Mac&Cheese caper. It's a wild one. To brazenly walking back into a job you were just fired from hundreds of times, to fake Mac&Cheese orders, 800 orders, the surveillance footage was ultimately his undoing. The eye in the sky, or the bird in the sky, we so-called use as a reference point. Tell me what you think. This is another sad case of a young man, unfortunately a young black man who has got his entire life in front of him, and he, instead of using his creativity and his intelligence to go to college, go to professional school, become a lawyer, doctor, engineer, a professor, teacher, principal, he decided that he was going to take advantage of his workplace environment, a Chick-Fil-A, which has a Southern Baptist religious mission to it. And I think that the state courts in Texas are going to make an example out of this young kid. I don't think he's going to get probation. And I think he will do some prison time. It is unfortunate. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.